Hey Summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. My name is Nathaning, and today we're going to be talking about tilting. We'll go through the mindset of tilt and where it comes from, talking about why everybody tilts and what's the best way to handle it. Before we get started, we're doing a giveaway over at ProGuides. If you've ever wanted to try out some of our services or just want some extra RP, you do not want to miss out. To enter, first make sure that you're subscribed to our channel. Then join our community Discord with the link in the description. The rest is outlined in the giveaway section on the Discord, so go ahead and join while you still can. Let's start talking about what tilt is and why you should take some time to look at the way you play Wild Rift. Tilt isn't exclusive to this game, and honestly, you can tilt at pretty much anything. That tilting of frustration, anger, and disappointment when something goes wrong is what we call tilt. People who play sports get tilted. You get tilted when somebody won't go when the light turns green. I mean, you get the idea. The common factor is that there's always something that's out of our control when it comes to getting tilted. Figuring out the things that will cause your own personal tilt is really important, especially if you want to successfully climb in Wild Rift. Tilting would make you lose a lot more than you usually would, and it can last for days at a time. When you're focusing on the negatives, it can be really hard to think about how you can win the match, but it'll also make it way harder to improve your gameplay, clouding your judgment and causing you to autopilot. In the worst case, you will start flaming your teammates and make everybody's experience worse. Before we help you figure out what exactly tilts you, our question of the day is, how do you stop yourself from getting frustrated in game? Make sure you let us know in the comments down below. And for me personally, I love boba, so I always just get a boba every time I'm in a huge gaming sesh, and it kind of keeps me grounded, you know? And also working out, that's also pretty great. Okay, so let's identify what kind of tilt you experience most often in Wild Rift. Once you figure out what grinds your gears, we'll be talking about which ways you can stop the tilt and fight against the urge to spam ping your team. If you find yourself getting frustrated at other players on your team, your tilt probably comes from the lack of control that comes with the game. Wild Rift is a 5v5 game, not a 1v1. There's a lot that's out of your grasp, including teammates and enemies. When you're tilted, it's usually because somebody lost their lane super hard. Our first suggestion for dealing with the team-based tilt is to focus more on yourself. This isn't too selfish because if you're confident in yourself, then you're going to be confident in the game. If you're tunneling in on your support missing their hook, you're missing the bigger picture. While it's nice to always rely on your team, you should always treat playing solo as if you're the only one that can carry the game. Go into every game with a carry mentality and remind yourself that you're here to win. If the Aria on your team won't stop dying, think about how you'll play against the Fed Zed. How can you use your abilities to dodge the shuriken? What items that you can build against them? When you're mad at Ari for playing bad, that energy is just wasted. She won't start playing better just because you want her to. And when I say that you should be focusing on winning, I kind of mean that you should take that with a grain of salt. You should be focusing on improving in every single situation and in every single game. And as long as you're improving in every game, you can't be disappointed. Like my parents were at me for going into acting. But you know, they support me now. Going back to your own gameplay, try to limit test, especially if the game looks like a loss. Limit testing is exactly what it sounds like, pushing your own skill past your limit. Try to land that flash hook or make an aggressive play that you're usually afraid to make. If everyone else on your team is losing, the only way you can get back into the game is by making those big plays and taking those big risks. You'd be surprised at how far it can go when you try these new things. When you make a crazy play that wins you the game, you'll usually realize that almost every game is winnable. In Wild Rift, you only need to invest 20 or so minutes of your time to enter the super late game, where games are won and lost almost in an instant. In League, you might have to wait 40 or 50 minutes for some games to be won. It's worth it to play out a game and get to that point. Plus, everybody makes mistakes. If your team is capable of messing up all the time, the enemy team is as well. And so are you. You're the only part of the team that you can fully control though. So, as long as you play consistently, you'll be fine. Moving away from the teammates, your own gameplay can tilt you as well. This is common for people who are really competitive, since they expect themselves to play well all the time. That is a lot of pressure to put on yourself, so please just realize that you can also make mistakes, take a deep breath, and realize that you're not perfect, but you're trying to be. The truth is that is rarely possible, and even the most consistent players can even make mistakes. When you're tilted, it's usually because you made a key mistake and lost something for your team. Just make sure that if you're looking into your own mistakes, that you don't fall into the pitfall of not learning from them. Since you're always looking at those mistakes, it's hard to tell you just to ignore whatever things you do wrong. Instead of fixating on something, just wait until the game is finished to think about whatever happened. If you messed up engaging a team fight, it can't stay on your mind. This tilt will only make your future engages worse. When you aren't able to figure out what went wrong, don't worry about it for too long. When you aren't spending time on all the little mistakes, you'll have time to think about the game and figure out the next play. You'll need to weigh in all your options in Wild Rift, which is hard when you're tilted. For example, let's say that you're playing Vayne with Nami. You mess up in the early game, dying 2 times to the enemy bot lane. If you tilt, you'll get in your own head and you'll start playing worse. If you move on and focus on the game, you can slow down the match and farm up into the late game, where Vayne shines. The last style of tilt comes from factors that are outside of Wild Rift. We play games to have fun, especially when you've had a bad day. If you queue up and you get a trolling jungler, it can ruin your already bad day and your overall experience. When you're tilted, it's usually because of something random. I don't have a lot of advice for handling real stress because they're all different for different people, but I can say what helps me out is just honestly working out, staying healthy, getting my mind off of things for a little bit and just relaxing, having a quick mental reset by talking to the people I love. But we're here talking about Wild Rift, so there are some stuff that I have for you to help make Wild Rift more relaxing and less annoying. Even though games aren't that long, they still require most of your focus and time. You can't really multitask and play the game, which makes starting a match while you're folding laundry a really bad idea. But that doesn't stop IRL stuff from coming up every now and then. There'll be games where you disconnect or get a call from a friend during a team fight. And trust me, the disconnecting thing is a huge issue of mine. Freaking Spectrum. I mean, I know some of y'all can relate out there. I'm just trying to stream from Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 6 to 8 p.m. at twitch.tv Nathan_ing. Little self-plug. Do your best to avoid random things, but remember not to take it too seriously when they do happen. Wild Rift is a lot of fun, but it isn't something that you should spam if you're getting annoyed. If I find myself getting frustrated for no good reason, I'll take a break or stop for the rest of the day. Sometimes the meta isn't really enjoyable for your role, or your favorite champion just got gutted. This is the best time to try a new approach to the game. If you're a mid laner, try jungling for a day. If you usually play tanks, try out marksman. The best part about exploring the game is that you'll find what you really enjoy in Wild Rift, and it also keeps it quite fresh. Who knows, you might find your new favorite role. We think it's worth it to stick with the game, especially with how much content we have from League of Legends. Don't tilt yourself by only playing what's comfortable. If you're ever looking for suggestions, some of the newer champions have really cool mechanics. Champions like Teemo are way different than they were in League. He can toggle a stealth and go invisible at any time, making him even more slippery. We can't wait to see how they transfer the Runeterra cast into Wild Rift, so keep an eye out for your new main. Now that we talked about some of the most common types of tilt, let's talk about some general advice on how to restart your mental. One of the best ways to slow down that kind of tilt is to take short breaks between games. As someone who's played a lot of ranked League of Legends, a small 5 to 15 minute breaks in between the games actually does wonders. What you do with the time is totally up to you. Grab a snack, take a walk, watch ProGuides, I won't stop you. This is extra important after you had a really bad game. Trust me, it's difficult to not instantly queue up and let that last match affect you, especially if you end up with one of the same players on your team. And our number one tip for avoiding tilt is to find a duo or a group of friends to play with. Riot recently added a party finder feature, where you can find people who are also searching for teammates. Wild Rift is best played with friends, and you'd be surprised at how good it is for fixing tilt. Having people who are on the same page as you will keep you grounded, and it's fun to vent to friends about terrible games. It's also a great way to find people to climb the rank ladder with. Between you and me, and you have a duo partner, or if you're in a party, you can always just find that random and blame them for everything, like a little scapegoat. I'm kidding. We here at ProGuides, we don't encourage and condone that type of behavior, but I, Nathan Ing, I do. Ranked duos are great at helping you keep a cool head when games get tough. Actually, I'm totally joking, please. Don't ruin the experience for anybody else. It's a joke, it's a joke. If you aren't feeling Wild Rift, don't force yourself to play. Instead, watch some videos or streamers. Our channel is full of news and informative videos, so take a look if you can't win a Wild Rift game. Speaking of our channel, spending time to learn about the game helps overcome tilt. Here's an example. Let's say you're facing a Malphite and he's totally unkillable. Almost like a mountain that you can't move, because he's sometimes portrayed as a mountain. Your entire team does not do any damage to him, and he ultimately wins the game because of his ult and teamfight presence. You were really fed as Draven that game, but it wasn't enough. In this situation, you can look at a couple of guides or ask some friends about how Draven does into tanks. You'll find out quickly that he's not that great against super bulky tanks, especially in the late game. Next time you see an enemy instant lock Malphite, you can pick Vayne or Kai'Sa to help shred him down. Learning how you could have won last game is one of the best ways to stop tilting. Who can tilt when they're winning? Actually, I know some people that can, but you know, it's way harder to do that. For some players, LP and rank are major motivations for playing this game. This has a lot of positive benefits, and going for that glorious Tryndamere skin at the end of the season is also a very solid goal. But if you really want gold, you're bound to be upset when you go on a losing streak. If you're dead set on playing and don't want to take a break, the next best thing to do is detach yourself away from your LP and rank. Sure, it matters, but the more games you play, the less a losing or winning streak matters. Wild Rift is designed to put you at your true elo after a lot of games. which means that it'll calculate for highs and the lows of your rank. Don't connect your worth or your skill to your rank. Even if you are at your real rank, it doesn't matter, you can always get better. No matter if you win or lose, try to look at every game as a way to grow instead of a way to farm LP. This is easily the best mindset, like I mentioned earlier, for focusing on improving in Wild Rift. Our last and final tip for lowering tilt is to turn off your chat and pings. This is sort of a last resort method, but a lot of players love playing the game without chat. You lose out on a lot of strategy talk, but honestly, if you don't want to mute your teammates' pings, that's also enough communication to get by. Chat is also one of the worst places for people who tilt easily. So, turn it off if you're having an off day and if you don't want to deal with anybody else. You should always use your mute button too. Don't bother responding to people who are typing a bunch. That's everything you need to know on how to stop tilting in Wild Rift. Everybody tilts, and there's a lot that you can do to keep your mind off of the game. Try out some of these tips and we're sure that you'll feel better at playing the game. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and join our Discord so you don't miss a part of that giveaway. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, my name is Nathan Ng. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.